Hai, welcome to podcast Desulistio. Gak sangka ya, ini udah episode ke-6 podcast ini. Dan saat ini kita udah sampai di seri ke-7 MotoGP, tepatnya di sirkuit Sachsenring, Jerman. Di sirkuit ini sebetulnya kita pengen banget menyaksikan The King of Sachsenring kembali, yaitu Marc Marquez. Tapi sayangnya beliau malah harus cedera saat warming up sebelum balapan hari Minggu. Dan walaupun dinyatakan fit, HRC Team dan Marc Marquez memutuskan untuk tidak melanjutkan balapan di hari Minggu karena sepertinya Marc Marquez sendiri juga belum siap untuk kembali ke motor setelah high side yang cukup tinggi pada warming up itu, dan membuatnya tidak paham lagi harus berlaku seperti apa, karena sejatinya sejak dia terjatuh 3 kali selama Q1 dan Q2, dia akhirnya berpikir bahwa oke, aku udah ngambil resiko segini besar tapi memang motornya tidak mendukung, jadi aku akan biasa-biasa aja di sprint race. Dan di warming up juga dia baru 1 kali putaran, dan masuk ke putaran kedua akhirnya dia terjatuh high side cukup parah. Walaupun dia belum push terlalu banyak di turn 7, dia akhirnya memutuskan untuk oke, kayaknya ini belum siap dan mungkin akan terjadi hal yang lebih parah kalau dia lanjutkan. Oke, kita langsung, sekarang saya gak sendirian, saya selalu bersama Imre. Dan kita akan membahas soal Sachsenring ini. Halo Imre, apa kabar?
Kabar baik, kamu apa kabar?
Kabar baik juga. Dan gimana nih mengenai Sachsenring ini? Could you please explain about the race weekend in Sachsenring?
Yes, so the weekend actually started with a very optimistic Marc Marquez. He was second fastest in P1, but then he realized that he reached the limit pretty far and he simply couldn't push it, whereas the others improved from lap to lap. So you could really see that Marquez got nervous. He lost his cool, he lost his overview that he has more than any other racer, and he was doing mistakes, but he was trying and the bike just spit him off a couple of times. They were reactions of the bike that nobody expected, so you could simply see he's fighting hard with it and he simply cannot get into the rhythm that he normally had at the Sachsenring and that he could win the races with. On the other hand, the Ducatis became quicker and quicker, although KTM was more or less in the mix and so was Aprilia. But then when Q2 was a little tricky, the track still drying up, Aleix Espargaro made a mistake and he could just qualify for P10. Marc Marquez pushed on and on. He crashed 3 times, once in Q1, twice in Q2. He had a horrific encounter with Johann Zarco, who was just coming out of the pits, and Marquez crashed, braking into turn 1. His bike hit the front of Zarco's Ducati and ripped off the front fork. You cannot imagine what would have happened if Zarco would have been just half a meter further ahead and the bike would have hit his leg or his foot. So yes, it all looked pretty scary. And after that, Marc Marquez realized that, as he himself said, I was giving all I could. I crashed 3 times for qualifying 7th, so I understood the effort is not worth the result. So when in sprint race he realized that the setup they have chosen was the wrong way, so he did not push further than necessary, and so finally he finished 11th. Yeah, the sprint race was won by Jorge Martin in quite spectacular manner. Like in lap 4, he took the lead and then he really made a gap to Pecco Bagnaia that Pecco could not close again. There you could really see that Jorge had the pace. The next day, more or less the same happened. In the race, we saw a lightning start again from Jack Miller, but Jack had a problem braking into the downhill left-hander, so there Ducatis passed him easily. So then first Pecco Bagnaia started to lead, but Jorge Martin was following him, passed him, and then gapped him again like in the sprint race. But this time Bagnaia could catch up again, was following Jorge Martin for a while. Then he took the lead, but he could also not gap Jorge. Jorge himself said that he realized that following Pecco was worse than leading, because it ruined the tires even more. So then he took the lead again and could bring it to the finish. Pecco tried. You could see that Pecco actually had the pace, but Jorge could simply defend his lines. In the penultimate lap, when they accelerated on the main straight, Pecco had a better run on the straight, but the bike of Jorge was in his way, so he hit the back of the bike. Jorge didn't even realize that they have touched. He just realized some movement in the bike, but then Pecco had to shut off, so he lost like 0.3 of a second, and that was the gap that was impossible to make up in a way that he's close enough in the last 2 or 3 corners to attack. He closed the gap, and he was close in the last corner, tried to out-accelerate Jorge, but then finally they were 800ths of a second that were missing. So it was a very close finish, but Jorge could beat Pecco for the second time in 2 days, and it was the first time that he really showed that he's got the potential to fight for the World Championship against Pecco, or rather he will be a very tough contender for Pecco for the World Championship title.
Oke, jadi kalau kita dengar, kita ringkas sedikit. Jadi Marc Marquez tuh kenapa finishnya ke-11 di sprint? Karena Marc Marquez tuh udah kayak ngerasa give up. Bukan give up sih, tapi ngerasa kayak sia-sia lah. Aku harus mengambil resiko sebesar ini di Q1, Q2 sampai jatuh 3 kali dan hanya finish mulai balapan dari posisi 7. Ya udah di sprint dia cuman ya go for it supaya bisa finish aja, dan akhirnya dia finish ke-11. Lalu dia coba di warming up, dia gak terlalu nge-push, ternyata malah di putaran kedua dia jatuh high side begitu tinggi dan ibu jarinya retak, dan dia dinyatakan fit tapi dia memutuskan gak balapan. Terus di sprint race Jorge Martin menunjukkan bahwa dia bisa tampil gemilang dan dia bisa menjadi lawan yang patut diperhitungkan buat Pecco. Begitu juga dia buktikan lagi pada saat balapan di hari Minggu. Jadi sepertinya Pecco gak akan sendirian nih untuk mengejar balapan ini. Ada Jorge Martin yang sekarang terlihat begitu kuat, dan juga masih ada Bezzecchi nih yang juga kadang-kadang memberikan kejutan-kejutan. Sekarang kita tanya ya, kenapa sih semua Ducati itu ada 8 dan semua finish di 9 besar? Cuma ada satu Jack Miller yang dulunya juga ex Ducati, ya kan, dia nyelip di posisi 6. Jadi dia tuh kayak di sandwich gitu sama Ducati. Kita tanyain, ini bahaya gak nih buat kejuaraan ini kalau banyak orang yang bilang Ducati Cup lah, apalah. Kita coba tanyain ya. As we know, all ex Ducati finish in the top 9, just interrupted by Jack Miller on the KTM in 6th place. Could this jeopardize the excitement of the championship in the future?
So I think we just got a taste of what Ducati is capable of now. They have developed the best bike on the grid end of last season. They made a new one that was even better. This new bike is already fully developed and can now unleash its full potential. The next thing is the new bike has a few strong points compared to the old one, but this is always a compromise. The old one also has its strong points, and now with all this data, with all this experience, they can also improve the old bike, plus they can close the gap on the weak points of the new bike, and their speed of development is absolutely amazing. It is faster than anybody else's. They have 8 good riders, 7 of them are brilliant, so they have a a lot of data. The riders are pushing each other. They are all very motivated because they can perform with this bike. So it is getting more and more difficult for everybody to keep up with them. Aleix Espargaro has admitted at Sachsenring, everybody said, yeah, the Ducati has a lot of horsepower, it's very fast on the straights, it is very stable in braking, but it does not turn. He said it's not true. It turns well. It is really fast steering in slow corners, does not have any weak points anymore.
Okay, I'm curious about why is Aprilia not performing that well as last year, and why has Maverick Viñales fallen back behind his teammate Aleix Espargaro, who is outperforming him even after his bicycle accident?
So Maverick has not made any press scrums since Friday in Mugello. It seems so he's back to his habits like he had at Yamaha. Maverick is an extraordinary rider. He's very fast. He had a lot of motivation bringing the Aprilia to the top. But I have the impression as soon as Maverick is getting setbacks, he cannot handle them. And this is what I also see now. Aleix Espargaro said the problem with Aprilia is they made a big step last year, but they have just developed like 3 or 4 parts on last year's bike, whereas Ducati has improved a lot more. So Ducati got another step that Aprilia at the moment cannot follow. He said the Aprilia still has a lot of strong points. It can carry a lot of corner speed, but at the moment they have the problem with the starts. It seems that the starting device, the clutch and everything is working better for the Ducati and especially for the KTM. So Aprilia is losing out at the start, and it is very difficult, especially on a track like Sachsenring, to pass the Ducatis. So for this reason, Aleix chose the soft rear tire that he could at least attack at the beginning of the race to make up some spots, but it did not really work out. He had a huge drop and then completely dropped out of the points, finishing 16th. Actually, Fabio Quartararo tried the same. He also put the soft rear tire and then also dropped until 13th. But he admitted that it was not only the tire. With the medium tire, P10 would have been the maximum he could have gained.
Now we talk about Yamaha. Do you think Yamaha will improve after the summer break, or will it stay the same difficult for them?
We can just hope that the Japanese will work hard and find something during the summer break that brings them closer, but it's difficult to imagine what they should find. I spoke with some technicians and they said the problem with Honda and Yamaha is they never took the whole aerodynamic development seriously enough. They have just put some wings on the existing fairings, whereas Ducati, Aprilia and KTM, they created fairings around the wings. So the Japanese are at least 2 or 3 years behind in aerodynamics, and with that it's going to be very difficult to find the right balance and put the right package together, because all this is connected. When you improve the aerodynamics, you have to adjust the rest of the bike to it. And with Yamaha, it seems that last winter they made a wrong decision towards the engine. Fabio Quartararo wanted to have more horsepower, but the engine does not have the rideability that they had before. So they lost even more traction, and they lost their cornering ability. So the Yamaha this year is clearly worse than it was last year, and all the others have improved. The lap times of the Ducatis, the KTMs, and even of the Aprilias, they were so fast. A race time was 20 seconds faster than last year, and with last year's race time you would not have finished within the top 10. This is the current situation, and Yamaha will have huge difficulties coming out of that problem until the end of the year, because they cannot change the engine. And with Honda, it is the problem that they are trying to analyze their problem, but they still haven't found it. A lot of people from the technical side believe that it is the engine that has a too rough power delivery that is causing the problems with the traction. But now I also see more or less it is a human problem. People have lost their faith to this project, and there is no real guideline they are following. They are just trying this and that. Plus, 3 of their 4 riders is injured. Honda riders have crashed more than anybody else this year. There were more than 30 crashes between the Honda riders. It will take Alex Rins at least 2 months to recover. You could see that Joan Mir has completely lost the confidence with the bike, and now also Marc Marquez has reached a point where even for him it's going to be difficult to push the limits. Nakagami admitted yesterday that after he saw the crash of Marc Marquez on Sunday morning, he was scared to push the Honda to the limits in the race. And this is not how you can develop a bike and how you can get results.
What is your prediction about Assen? Last year, Ducati, Pecco Bagnaia, Marco Bezzecchi in first and second, and then Aprilia with Maverick Viñales on third position. How about this year?
So with the situation, it looks that the Ducatis have the upper hand. Might be 1/10, 2/10 of a second per lap. But in this field, this is already quite some gap. And it could mean that there could be like 3 or 4 Ducatis on top again. For sure, Bagnaia will be strong. For sure, Jorge Martin will be strong. For sure, Bezzecchi will be strong. Luca Marini is pretty strong this year. Cannot exclude Johann Zarco. So it will be difficult to beat them if everything works the way it worked until now. Aprilia should be there, and we can just hope that Maverick Viñales will find back his strength and his pace. Then he will also definitely be a force to reckon with. If he is still able to ride on the podium like he could do last year, we will see. And with Aleix, he's a fighter. Although he has a lot of pain in his right heel, and he's got pain in his ribs because he also broke 3 ribs. He will fight and he will perform as good as it's possible.
And KTM?
I reckon the KTM will also be in the pack. It was unfortunate for Brad Binder that he crashed. He was in a very safe 3rd spot when he crashed, and it was also quite an unlucky situation because he lost the front and slipped from the foot peg at the same time, so he could not correct. This does not happen to Brad too often. I'm very curious how he's going to approach the Gattema chicane, where last year Aleix Espargaro outbraked him and Jack Miller in one go in the last lap. So Brad has seen how it works, and with the braking performance of the KTM that we have seen in Jerez, we might see some Brad Binder magic before this chicane. We will see. I'm quite sure that KTM will be a force to reckon with. I expect Ducati, maybe Aprilia, but for sure a KTM fighting it out.
Do you think now still the strongest candidate, let's say, is Ducati? I'm a bit curious about the performance of Enea Bastianini. because after the crash and then he has pain on the shoulder, he not able to show again his great performance like last year. So any explanation about that?
Yes, for sure. First of all, Enea completely smoothened his riding style on the 2021 Ducati. That bike had to be ridden with more physical force than the 2022 bike, and especially as the 2023 bike. Enea could not completely change his riding style during the winter, but he started honing it out at the first race weekend. Then he had this crash. Part of his shoulder blade broke off. A lot of muscles are attached to that. It took him pretty long until he has recovered. During all this time, all the other riders got more familiar with their bike. They followed all the development process that Enea has completely missed. Additionally, his shoulder blade first had to recover because before he could even start exercising, and you should never underestimate what an important part the fitness of these guys play in this game. First of all, you need physical strength to ride these bikes, plus you need a lot of stamina because the races are 40 minutes. You have to wrestle these bikes for 40 minutes, absolute limit of your body. You must imagine that every time you're braking, you can go up to 1.8 G. This means that your upper arms have to hold 100 kilos. This 2-3 times per lap for 40 minutes. And if you fatigue, it means that your brain does not get as much oxygen as usual. So you cannot react, you cannot think. So the physical fitness is a very important part, and he has lost part of this physical fitness due to the injury. So he was also limited because he had pain when he returned, but now he said it is all right. He does not have any more pain. He can ride the bike more or less in a normal fashion, but it still means that he has to make up like 3 or 4 months of experience. So for sure he will still not be at 100% in Assen, but he will slowly come. And I reckon after the summer break, when everybody is resetting his mindset, he will come back pretty strong.
Okay, so we will wish all the best for all the rider in Assen. Everything hope gonna be alright, safe, and we will have a great race again. Thank you very much, Imre, for the time. Hope to see you again in a couple of days for the Assen. And again, thank you.
Terima kasih, sampai jumpa lagi.